Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com, and this is episode 33 of Photo Critiques. And in Photo Critiques, people send me in some of their best images, and I critique each shot with suggestions on how they can improve it. And today, I'm pleased to critique the work of Swasan, and I hope I didn't mispronounce your name too terribly, Swasan. And I only have the first name, so hopefully I don't mess your name up throughout this whole video. This first shot is a nice cityscape. The clouds and the sky is very interesting. It's very well focused. There's 2 points I'd like to make on this shot though. The foreground, specifically these three bushes, they're relatively large and they're a little distracting because they're poking up into the midground, which is the buildings. The way you could minimize that is if you could have got up to a higher area, got up higher and shot more down on it, these would have been minimized somewhat and they wouldn't have been interfering with the fountain. It looks like a fountain right here and with the buildings. So if you could have repositioned yourself somehow to try to minimize these three bushes in the shot. The second thing is I'd like you to notice is this lamppost is tilted into the left and this building's tilted into the left. This post is tilted into the right. This building's tilted into the right. And so everything's kind of tilted in towards the center of the shot. I don't know if this is a cropped shot or a panorama, but either way, when you had the raw files, you could have corrected for that by using the lens correction part of Lightroom, and all you would have to do is click Enable Profile Corrections. Now right now obviously it's not doing anything because these aren't the raw files and the lens profile isn't embedded in the JPEG image that was sent to me. So this, Lightroom doesn't know what to do, so that's not going to do anything. The other thing I mentioned in previous critiques, when you photograph architecture, buildings, they always look like they're falling backwards off the page or off the photograph. And that you could hit auto here and it should pull them forward. It did straighten out this lamppost a little too. Straightened out that building. This is still a bit crooked and this is still a bit crooked. So, attention to detail. I've never really come right out and say that in the critiques, I don't think, but you really gotta be attentive to every little thing in the shot and kind of know, it comes with experience. Know what's going to screw up. Know what's going to be bad. So, next time I guarantee when you're presented with a shot like this, you're going to know that these buildings are probably going to be falling backwards and tilted in. So you're going to remember you have to correct for it in post. And you're going to know when you look through your viewfinder that this foreground element better not dominate the scene totally. So you're going to work the scene to minimize it. This shot here, again, I just mentioned work the scene. This is a shot that I think is, has a better shot. This is a scene that I think has a better shot in it. Got interesting framing here with these cars. You have almost a leading line with this, but it kind of ends with this traffic cone right here. But there's a very interesting temple here, very interesting gardens, and it's kind of way far away. So the sky is excellent. It's borderline blown out. If you go over the histogram, if you just hover over the right hand triangle at the top of the histogram, anything that was blown out would turn red. And as you can see, nothing's turning red. It is still a little bright though. You might want to tone that down just a touch because generally our eyes get drawn to the brightest thing in the shot. And you don't necessarily want them to be staring at the clouds. So you might want to tone that down just a touch, but that's a matter of personal taste. If you hover over this left triangle, anything that's ink black with no detail in it will turn blue. And as you can see, there's some in the windows and some back in here. Generally speaking though, you could get away with stuff in your photograph that's ink black, but you tend not to get away with stuff that's blown out. So, it's in this case, this is no big deal having those ink black. The last thing, as I mentioned, attention to detail. We have this like palm tree, creeping into the shot. That really has to be eliminated. So attention to detail and work the scene on this shot. This shot, it's a nice study in receding lines, these lines going off into the distance. But I mentioned this in other critiques. There's nothing here for our eye to resolve on. Where eyes are looking at the lines, and there's nothing there. So, you'd want something to, your eyes to resolve on. I mentioned before, the more unusual, the better, usually. I mean, if you had something unusual right there, that would be something, that we could resolve on. But other than that, it's just a study in receding lines. This shot is excellent shot, excellent close up, perfectly in focus. Everything else is dropping off into soft focus. There's no metadata in the file, so I don't know what aperture you used. But for those who don't know, you tend to want to use a wide aperture to single something out like this. So you would use something, 2.8 to 4.5, less than f of 8, way less. Hopefully f of 4.5 at the max, and 2.8. You'd focus on what you want to be in focus. You got to be very careful and be, perfectly still and have it in focus, and everything else will drop out of focus real nice. This too, excellent focus, excellent, very nicely done. Excellent detail. Just, you could see it's just in perfect focus. The only thing I have is this leaf right here creeping into the shot. This shot would be 100 times better if this wasn't here, if it was just, the same, light color all the way around down here. You could try to get rid of that in Lightroom, but Lightroom won't do a good job on this. It's a little big. I'd bring it over into Photoshop if you have Photoshop, and because it has, content aware tools to remove this, and then you could make it look much better, I think. And I think this is the last shot. This is a kind of, again, excellent focus. A lot of times I get the critiques in, a lot of folks that haven't been taking photography for a long time. Their pictures tend to be a little soft, but Swasson's pictures are spot on, super sharp, and I really appreciate that. It's a really nice job. It's nice subtle color. It's not overdone, unusual shape. Would have been, it's a nice shot. It's just a nice macro. There's not a lot to really say, too much about it. You might, as I often, talk about adding vignettes, you might want to just add a vignette because there's not a definitive subject in the shot. So if you just add a subtle vignette, it helps draw your eye more towards the middle, makes it more of a spotlight effect. But it's something to think about on that. So that's it for this episode 33 of Photo Critiques. I'd like to thank Swasson for sending me in some images, and as I mentioned, it's just really pay attention to detail. Make sure that everything you could think of is covered. You don't have anything blown out. You don't have anything too far dark in the shadows. You don't have anything creeping into the frame that you don't want there. You examine the foreground, the midground, and the background and make sure it's framed and set up exactly as you desire, and then release the shutter. And don't leave the scene though. Keep walking around, work the scene, and take more shots. So thank you everyone for watching, and I'd like to thank everyone that has emailed me, with notes, telling me I'm doing a good job. I really do appreciate that. I really hope to improve and get these all my videos to be better and better, and I appreciate everyone's suggestions, and I appreciate everyone that has subscribed to my YouTube channel, and if you haven't already, please do. I'd really appreciate it. Alright, thanks a lot everyone.